Hey guys, Jackson here. Today I want to go over a new set I just finished building here. It's going to be Yoda's Jedi Starfighter. It's retired right now, but it's set number 75360. It's a pretty sweet little build. Only 253 pieces, so pretty tight, but I'm a huge sucker for the Jedi Starfighters, Jedi Interceptors, and this is just a really unique take on that. As far as my memory serves, we really only see it in the Clone Wars TV show towards the end of it, 6th season, I believe, when Yoda flies out and does this whole Yoda versus evil Yoda with the priestess. But really cool little ship to get. I like getting these little unique ships specific to a character. The colors all match Yoda. It's all green and gray. So pretty into those. So let's take a look at the minifigures here first. So included in this set are just two figures, pretty standard R2 and a pretty standard Yoda. I do like that Yoda's got a lot of good facial details here now. But yeah, nothing too crazy, no arm printing, no leg printing, even on his short legs. And then comes with just a standard green lightsaber. So pretty basic overall, but hard to beat the classics. And yeah, good way to grab a little Yoda and R2 if you need them. So the actual build is pretty sweet. A big fronted window piece as opposed to like the normal Jedi Interceptors that have the Jesus Christ camera issues. They have that big cockpit mold that pulls up and they sit down in. Yoda's obviously much smaller. His ship is customized to be much smaller for him. And in addition to that, the Lego has the unique issue of Yoda's short legs don't move. They have those sort of halfway legs now that some sit down. Like I know a lot of new Ahsoka figures come with that. But Yoda doesn't sit down in his true little leg form. So he stands up in the cockpit in here. And so having that big front cockpit piece for him to stand in front of instead of lay down and fly like a normal sized figure and character is a really cool change to it. It's obviously stubbier with dual wings on either side, mimicking sort of those foils that come up, but they're obviously much longer. Really reminds me of like a TIE Interceptor, TIE Defender, like a very big precursor to that, and I think that's a cool to show the evolution of how the ships progress through the show. Yeah, so some features of it. Obviously, these wings can bend a little bit, but you actually build in this little stud that goes in at the very end. It's a pole that goes through, and so it helps secure the wings on there, and then you can open them up and it holds them at a pretty good angle. And so you don't have to mess around too much with finding the right angle for these things to match with. They pop out pretty easily. It has two stud shooters. I don't really usually keep my stud shooters loaded all the time because they'll stick out the back here unless they're a pretty hidden feature on a set. I usually don't keep them in. But it does have that as a play feature. And then a couple weird aspects to it. A lot of these ships now have these clips in the back to hold the lightsaber in, which is good as a play feature to an extent, or if you're a kid and you don't have a spot to place your extra lightsabers, and you sort of it lets it be all encompassing and all together, no matter where you want to move this, because it'll hold all the figures, hold all the lightsaber extra stuff, and then whatever you want to do. But to me, who wants to display it with a little more realism, it takes away from that, just having an ignited lightsaber hanging off the back of your ship. So I tend to not ever put that back there. There's just sort of an open cockpit piece for R2-D2 to slide into. And I don't know how much I love it. It does sit, like from head on, it sits pretty nicely with just being able to look out over the ship like he should be able to. But from the back, it doesn't really come up very high, and it sort of just feels like an empty pit that we've thrown him in. So would have appreciated maybe some sort of higher building structure just to cover him up a little more. Or build this up tall and let me take the head off and put it on a little swivel piece just to really close it off. So I don't love that feature of it. But I do think it looks semi-decent from head on. Now to get Yoda inside, this opens up in two parts. So the front piece opens up down, but it hits these guns, right? So it doesn't open up all the way, which makes that hard. So what they did is they added another feature in the front that lifts up. So there's a ton of room actually to get your hands in there and mount Yoda. He just stands on there. And they just have a little details like the two red pieces to act as some sort of control panel or display readout or controls. But yeah, he just kind of fits in there and stands in the bubble. And then got to close the top piece first. Then the front, it does look cool with him shining through there. So decent enough displayability wise. It is cool having a big windshield piece that you can see the character through. But yeah, little funky building technique. And actually, speaking of building techniques, they have like the inverted hinge pieces there just because their slim profile hinge piece acts as a stop for this to come down to. But I do always pretty much wish that ships would include more detailed cockpits. I think having some sort of control panel or steering wheel or lever, and then some sort of printed tile piece that has controls or a readout or a map or whatever it's got going on. Seems like they do or don't do that in sets sort of at random. And I always wish they included some sort of built out little cockpit piece. I feel like transforming this into a better cockpit piece, there's exposed studs in there. You can put some slopes in there, add some color to it, add a little brown for like a leathery seat or something. I just feel like for 10 extra pieces, you could really include a fully built out cockpit, or at least something a lot similar. So I usually like to customize and do that at the end. I love customizing these little ships. There's no guilt in trying to rip these apart and figure out ways to make them a little better, just because they're small and cheap and fun, and that's the point of Lego to me. So I'll be working on that here in the future, just building a much better cockpit for Yoda to sit in. The other thing it doesn't do at all is any form of landing gear. Actually, when it lands, it usually pushes these two bottom pieces in. And then when you pick it up again, it's got to pop back out. So I wish there was some form of landing gear in here. They also don't tend to include landing gear in like any ships anymore. And so that's another thing I'll be working on trying to add to this. Tons of different designs and variations for folding landing gear. But again, it's an easy feature to add for, I don't know, 10 to 20 pieces total. So cockpit and landing gear to me, like, you could probably do in 30 pieces or less. And so it's always a little frustrating when sets don't have that because it seems like a very simple add. So those are really my only two gripes with it. Otherwise, pretty cool ship. I like getting these little ships that are unique to very small character arcs or very small characters. For fans of us that watch that show all the time, it's obviously really cool to see his custom version and not just a repainted version of the exact same ship. But there's a tendency to do that too, right? Like all the Jedi Starfighters look the exact same, but Anakin's is yellow and Obi-Wan's is red and Plo Koon's is green, and it just they just reskin them. Having variations like this that fit the characters, fit the species and the alien-like features of them better really makes us feel really cool and in universe, and I'm really glad we got a set of it. So yeah, overall really happy with it, and honestly a little happy that I get the chance now to customize it out and do everything. When you get something that's like a purely perfect build with all the little features you want, is really cool, but I do enjoy tinkering and getting in there. So maybe I'll make an update video here sometime in the future when I've upgraded a lot of my ships and just show the cockpits and landing gears and stuff I've been doing to all of them. But overall, pretty happy with it. Yeah, definitely recommend getting. So thanks for watching. See you guys in the next one.